We'll be removing our Penske 8300 series shocks. They feature an external reservoir. So what we'll do is we'll do a step-by-step sort of instructional video to show you what it takes to remove them from an MX-5 Miata. So stay tuned and we'll be rolling through the process.
So we're going to start by removing the reservoirs. Ours are mounted here on the strut bar, so that's easy enough. It's just getting the clamps loosened and getting them slid out. Once the clamp is loose, we will carefully knead them through this area where our brake booster and master cylinder are, while trying not to damage any lines on any of these pieces. And basically the shock is held in by 3 bolts. One of the bolts is covered by the strut bar, so what we'll end up doing is loosening the strut bar so we can get at it. And on our car here, we have a hardwired transponder that's got a ground here on the strut bar. So if you've used the studs for any type of grounding or anything else like that, just want to make sure to note that so you can get at it when you start back up on it. Now that we've removed the strut bar, what we're going to do is remove the 3 bolts that actually hold the shock in place. Once those are loosened, we can move down to the upright and start working on the bottom of the shock. Bolts removed, the bottom of the strut bar holder just comes off, so we'll just stick that out of the way. And now our shock is loose, so we'll move down to the bottom of it to get at the bottom bolt so we can slide it out. So we've got our shock loosened, but what we're actually going to do is we're going to put one of the nuts on just to hold it in place while we work on the upright down here and loosen the A-arm. So what we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to drop this suspension and disconnect this A-arm here. In order to do that, we're going to have to loosen our brake line here and loosen the sway bar because it'll hold it in place if we don't. So our brake line is loose and out of the way here, so we can move on to getting the sway bar link loose. Alright, we have our sway bar link loose and we're just going to stick the nut on there. So these things don't fly apart. So now our suspension is basically free. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on up here to these A-arm bolts on the side. So this guy right here and another one over here to basically allow us to drop the whole suspension down. Since this area is pretty tight with the brake line here, you might want to use a ratcheting wrench, as most sockets will not fit without interfering with the brake line. So our shock bolt is coming loose, and took a little bit of work because it had a bit of red Loctite on it, so that's actually a good idea. We'll probably reapply that when we put the shocks back after rebuild. So now that the shock is loose, as you can see here, we're going to go ahead and finish taking these out so the A-arm and the whole suspension actually can droop down. Okay, so now that these are loose, we can just take this guy out, and as you can see, that gives us some room to work with our shock and takes the A-arm away from the subframe there. Now, we're going to take the nut we left on top and go ahead and remove it while holding the shock so it doesn't fall down. And now that the nut has been removed, the shock can move freely. And here is the whole assembly out of the car.